It's such an important decision to make, deciding what you want to do for the rest of your life. And the good thing is, I think we now live in a generation where it's socially acceptable to switch careers, but even when I was applying to optometry school, I felt like it was like you choose this profession and you're in it forever. And so there was a huge burden on me that felt like I cannot be wrong, I cannot make the wrong decision. So I had a lot of questions. Hi, I'm Dr. Han. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit more about my story on how I became an optometrist, or what made me decide to do optometry as a living. It goes way back to when I was in about 7th grade in middle school. I actually was trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I grow up. A lot of adults always ask you, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I think for such a long time I thought I wanted to be a teacher because I love working with children, and you know, that stayed in me for a long time because I ended up being a Sunday school teacher. I ended up tutoring a bunch of kids, and even now I enjoy working with kids all the time. But the shift occurred from wanting to become a school teacher when I went on a mission trip with my local church. We were going there to host vacation Bible study for the local children. I was a youth kid at the time, serving the community and also being served by the community. And that's something that I think I learned a lot at a young age, is that when you go on a mission trip, you go with a mission of helping the people there or serving the people there. But once you get there, you realize that they're actually so open to serving you too. And so there were so many times where I was so humbled by my experiences, because even if they're limited in resources or finances, they're so willing to serve us and host us while we're there. I went on this trip, and at the time there was a Eastern medicine specialist that went with us, and I still remember that area was very dusty. So my dad was there with me, and he was watering the ground, because anytime wind would blow, the dust would be in everyone's faces. And when that was happening, I just went over to my dad to say hi, you know, because I was with the kids for a long time. And he was right next to this building where there was a huge line out the door. And I remember just seeing that line, being like, hey dad, what's going on over there? And my dad goes, oh, it's the Eastern medicine specialist. So they do acupuncture and diagnose in a holistic, natural way, right? And treat in a natural way. And so he said, yeah, they're all in line because they want to see him and be treated by him. I remember thinking, wow, you know, that's awesome. And so that's kind of when that dream started for me. Starting high school, I tried to be more interested in the sciences, even though, to be completely honest, my strong suit subjects were not science at the time. But because I felt like I had to be good at science to even dream of going into med school, I tried to gear my focus towards those classes. I started kind of just preparing my journey and figuring out, okay, how do I get into medical school? And so that became my goal. And I told myself, I want to go and study medicine in a big city. And so I just set my mind to Los Angeles and decided that's the city I want to live in or study in. And then I spent all of my high school just doing everything I can to get into a decent university with a decent medical program in Los Angeles. So at the time, I had no backup schools that were local to where I was living. Everything was in LA, all the colleges. I think I applied to 13 colleges, and they were all in Southern California. So I get into UCLA. And first year of UCLA, I went in as a bio major, but I was trying to figure out, okay, is this what I want to major in? Do I want to do something else? And psychobiology was another option at the time, which was a major unique to UCLA. And so I was kind of exploring my options. And I went on another mission trip, but this time it was a medical mission trip. And we went with a team of doctors. But that was really enlightening for me, because I got to see different specialists doing different work while on the medical mission field. And I was also inspired by the field of optometry. I met a optometrist. She was sharing with me that the church that she goes to normally on her medical mission trips takes all the equipment and all these donated frames and can make glasses and everything like that on the field. So that's when I started to become a little bit more interested in the field of optometry, especially because I loved my optometrist at the time. and I wore glasses since I was probably in first grade and wore contacts since the third grade. So I was very exposed to how important it is to have your eyes taken care of. And so that's kind of where the whole interest began. And then I was a care extender at UCLA, which allows you the opportunity to work at Ronald Reagan and shadow and serve the patients there. As a student intern per se, I was able to shadow pediatricians because that's what I thought I wanted to do, right? The first 2 years of college. And so I was following pediatricians and shadowing them, and I came across a young pediatrician. I think she was like maybe like 40s, early 40s, mid 40s, and she was so transparent with me and so willing to spend time outside of her clinic duties and clinic hours to just answer my questions. She was always open to me texting her, emailing her. She went over a lot of more of the realistic things to consider when deciding a career. One of the things that she shared with me was that she was on call a lot, and she felt like a lot of the things that were expected of her as a pediatrician often did limit her from her social life choices. So those are kind of things that she gave me a little bit of insight on. And another thing that she shared with me was that she also entered the field of medicine to be a pediatrician because she loved and adored children. But as she was practicing, she realized that sooner or later, young patients would start to fear her. And that broke her heart, she said initially. So she was definitely able to overcome that, but it broke her heart because she would go in to treat these patients, loving on them, and they would be terrified to see her. They would hide behind the nurses or they would hide behind their parents. And of course there's the whole white coat syndrome involved with the kiddos, but I think another part of it was the fact that when she does come in or meets with the kids, she would prescribe medicine or shots or anything like that that kids would not love. So she realized that as the kids started to detect this pattern, they would be more and more fearful of seeing her. And of course this was just her story, and this was not the only factor that deterred me personally from this field, because I still respect pediatricians so much, and if I had the right opportunity at the time, I think I still would have pursued it. But I was trying to figure out, okay, so this is what pediatricians do, and this is what dentists do, and this is what optometrists do, and this is what cardiologists do. And being in that whole Ronald Reagan Hospital, I was able to expose myself to different specialists and just get a little glimpse of what they do. This is most definitely not everyone's story. This was just me at the time, the data that I collected at the time, the few medical doctors that I questioned at the time. As I was able to also work at the Jules Stein Institute, which was an eye clinic, I also got to see firsthand what optometrists did. And I loved how dynamic their profession was, right? So a lot of times they are therapeutic optometrists that work in a optical setting or a clinic setting and see patients and prescribe glasses, contacts, do all of that. But there's also the option of working in research. You can also work with a pharmaceutical company. You can be a consultant. You can own your own business and be a private practice owner. So there was just so many different ways for me to work as an optometrist and not be set into one clinic setting. And so I really liked that, and I really enjoyed seeing that flexibility. And the optometrists that I was shadowing at the time, a lot of them were pregnant. And so I was kind of surprised because even if they were pregnant, they had no problem coming into the clinic and seeing patients. And I don't think they were working full time, but even seeing that, even seeing how flexible it was for them to be able to pick up shifts as they could, take time off as they gave birth, and then return right back. Seeing that flexibility was a big deal for me because I knew at the time that I one day wanted to have children of my own and be a mom and be present in my children's lives. So those were a lot of things that I had to factor in when choosing the profession. By the third year at UCLA, I decided, okay, I want to pursue this route of becoming an optometrist. With that being said, I felt a little behind. I felt like almost like it was not okay to switch so late, but luckily I was able to get connected with the Pre-Optometry Society at the time, and there were no big changes in prerequisites to applying to med school versus optometry school. There weren't any big ones. A couple classes that I needed to pick up, I ended up just kind of doing over the summer. The Pre-Optometry Society Club really gave me a lot of insight on ways to prepare myself to be a good optometry candidate. So it was third year of college that I made this kind of transition, and instead of studying for the MCAT, I ended up studying for the OAT, which is what the admission exam was for optometry school. So that's the events that led up to me applying to optometry school. The tipping factor for me that leaned me towards optometry was that medical mission trip, where I was able to see for myself and really envision, oh, I can help people as an optometrist. I don't have to only be a surgeon or only be a pediatrician to help sick kids or sick people. I can do it in my own way as an eye doctor. And so that was the final thread that I was like, okay, let's do it, let's go for it. And in a future vlog, I would love to share with you the interview process and why I decided to go to this optometry school over another and all of that. So please stay tuned, and we'll see you in a bit.